In this first installment, I'm going to be going over the block here, the 429. Depending on when you're watching this video, I'm not sure how far the last couple of videos will be in my video catalog, but you could go back and check out the damage overview that I did, but I'll be covering all that again at some point probably as I go through it all. But basically this engine was a fairly fresh rebuild, and then I raced it and damaged some pistons, I think from tight ring gap. Some context, I didn't assemble this motor personally, and I didn't really know hardly anything back when it was built. So there was a lot that was overlooked that I want to, now that I'm forced to take it apart, I'm going to go through it all again and basically start from scratch. So a couple of resources. I'm going to be going off of this book a lot as far as like the specifics for the 429 go. If you're building a 429, that seems like a pretty good resource. Obviously, opinions are opinions, so sometimes somebody might have an opinion in a book. So I always like to consult different sources, maybe YouTube, watch some videos. But as far as like block specific 429, there's not a lot. It's not like a Mopar, like it seems like a lot of Chrysler products and stuff. There's a lot of YouTube channels that cover that stuff. 429 specifically, not as much from what I've seen. So check out that book if you can find one. But today I'm going to wheel this outside and try to get some of the messy work done out of the way. But basically what I'm going to do is take out all the bearings, just keep them with the with the cap that they went with. But I am going to be replacing all these from the looks of it. There's a lot to get into. I kind of touched on this in the last video. One correction though, in the last video I assumed that the crank cheek on the thrust bearing was the clearance was too tight, but because of what I thought was wear. But if you go back, if you look on like class listings and stuff for these bearings, they all look like this from the factory. So I think that actually might not be relevant, and I think that is normal. I thought it was wear, but I don't think it actually is. I just wanted to point that out. And then going to be going through spots like this, cleaning up these edges, because these can be, specifically in performance applications, it's you obviously can't feel it through the camera, but very sharp, and those can be very common areas that cracks form. They call them stress risers, but any kind of sharp edges. So I'm going to take my die grinder that I picked up and go through that all, and basically just do this block as I can with easily obtainable tools, basically. So no advanced media blasting through the ports and stuff like that. If you wanted to go that route, you could. I'm sure you could invest in those things, but I'm going to just kind of stay with what I can get with your common hand tools, basically. So I'm going to knock out all the plugs, freeze plugs. On this block, when I went to drain the coolant out of the block, it was the driver's side, I think. I took it out and no fluid drain. So there is at least some sort of blockage in here, because the fluid was still in the block, but it wouldn't drain out. So, and again, circling back to when it was first built, I'm pretty sure those were never touched, unless the machine shop opened them up. But generally speaking, I don't know. Like if you get a really good machine shop, they'll go above and beyond. But other than that, I think in hindsight, knowing what I know now, I was the one that should have double checked all those things, and I didn't know any better. So nothing like that happened. So that could contribute. There's a lot of factors that could have contributed to the damage that took place. So anyways, gonna get this outside and start going over some things, and I'll just kind of point out as I go. The other thing I'm going to do in this video is test on video whether or not polishing the lifter valley to help with oil return actually really does anything. So you might find that interesting. Right, so I got the block out, cleaned it up with gasoline. I guess a more environmentally friendly option might be something else, but gasoline evaporates, so that's why I used it. It's kind of just goes into the air. But anyways, it works really good to clean the block, and so I'm gonna start up in the lifter valley for now. But I pulled out all the plug here for the rear of the camshaft, all the oil galley plugs, ones up front here. They might be a little different, so I just kept track of which ones, you know, front and back, because these ones had a little bit different design. Scrape gaskets, core plugs out, basically any kind of bolts or plugs that go into the block. Cleaned it really good, and the reason for cleaning it is just when I am making metal shavings and stuff, oil, anything that's oily will stick, make the products or the shavings stick and stuff, and I want to be able to blow it off. So that's one of the reasons to clean it, and you can also see better. It's also nicer to work with a clean, oil-free surface. The only one that I couldn't get to yet, where is it? I guess it would be driver's side here. This guy here, it's an 1 1/8", and I don't have a socket that big, so that's the only one I can't remove. But there is some performance porting for oil flow to be done here, which I guess I can show at another time. Actually, I just missed one here. That's another one. I think that would connect here and here. So anything like that way you can just verify they're clean and blown out. And I'll just show you guys. I'm gonna try to rotate this with one hand. Trying to get my orientation. Anyways, stuff like this, the casting flash can come off. Clean that up. This oil plug here, I don't know if this was the bad one. Just noticed that can come out too. But anyways, one of these, like I mentioned, I took it apart, and in the engine I wasn't able to see, but it was almost completely closed off. It's hard to see in here in the camera probably, but these are pretty clean, but I'm just gonna clean them out. Now, one thing I just noticed, and I was trying to do a bit of research on it, is in the center holes, you can see these rods here. And I was trying to find some information on them. Differing opinions on what they are, but apparently a lot of the Ford motors have them, and some people say they were screws to hold the casting together, the casting forms together or something, and there's evidently get left in there. Some people say they're for support. The casting screw makes sense, the support thing doesn't really make sense. And then somebody pointed out, if you look really carefully, you can see sometimes with a clean deck, you can see the spots where they kind of got trimmed off. So anyways, just wanted to throw that out there. These ones are in good shape. The reason I bring it up is because I was kind of wondering about removing them, but I'll look into that a little bit more. I'm not sure if I'll take them out or leave them. It would be kind of hard to, even if I could. These ones are, this block is in good shape, like not a lot of rust. The only reason I'd take them out is just to kind of, if they were rusty and gonna come out. But the thing is, like, I could only get part of it out anyways. So, aside from that, I'm just gonna go around, get everything out, and then I'll set up the camera and show you guys kind of what it looks like. So here's a perfect example of why this is important, especially in performance. This casting, this hole was really bad. This is the Sanka one from the front, but you can see these micro cracks that I could see, and this isn't just showing up now. It was visible, but all those chips, and I've already taken off like 1/8 of an inch at least here, but all those chips, those cracks could form into chips that break loose and fall into the motor and just what could, you know, do a lot of damage. This one is pretty much done, you know, at least for preliminary. But obviously, just one thing you want to watch is not to damage the lifter bore. But it'd be pretty hard to do that unless you were coming in from the bottom side. But kind of radius all these sharp edges, break them loose. You can feel them with your finger. After a while, this one's actually feeling really good. This one still has sharp edges. But you can see a close up here. These are super, you know, like right here. There's this little like thing hanging on there that easily could vibrate loose under, you know, heavy circumstances. So gonna just keep going at this. I've already only been at it for like 10 minutes and got this done. So it goes pretty quickly, especially if you have invest in a really high quality carbide bit for sure. So I'm gonna keep going at those and check back in a bit. All right, I'm gonna try to demonstrate and see for myself if polishing actually really helps oil drain back faster on a lifter valley. So both oil holes have been chamfered a little bit, but the valley here, I did a little bit of dressing in this side here, just maybe, you know, 10 minutes worth, but nothing here yet. And I've pre-coated both sides with oil, so they both have kind of an equal fighting chance. On the surface, it would seem like obviously a polished surface would flow faster, but at the same other side of the coin, or whatever I guess you could call it, is a more porous surface would hold oil, and then the oil might roll over top of itself easier. So this is obviously not a real world test, obviously because the engine's not running, etc. But I'm going to one's going to be a little bit ahead of the other one, but I'm going to start these lined up, put a decent globber and a decent globber. So that one obviously got a head start. This one's caught up now. I don't know if you can see from the angle of the camera. So you can see that got a head start, and they're pretty much consistent amounts, I think. This one's now in the lead. And yes, I did make sure my block was level this way. However, obviously it is tilted back because it's on an engine stand, so it's tilted back. So far, there's obviously not an extremely scientific test because there's flaws here, but already this one's now in the lead by about an inch. And once they get closer, I will pull off the camera and see how they flow into the well, I think by that point it might be too late, but like I mentioned, I did round the holes, the drain back holes, and just kind of smooth it out as much as possible. And I don't know if you can pick it up on camera, but this side, it's hard to tell, but it looks like this side is like taller. The oil is rolling in a thicker stream. This side looks like it's thinned out, but it could also be hard to tell. And they look like they're both, at this point, both moving about the same. I want to stop it before it drains into the hole because I spent a lot of time cleaning this block. Okay, so that just hit the hole, and this one's still a good 4 inches away. So I apologize for not being able to get this whole thing in the shot, but I'm going to run this test again. I think just out of curiosity. And if it does it the same thing twice, that's probably a good indication. So I'm just going to clean up this existing oil, and 10, 15 seconds later, whatever it is, this one is still a good 4 inches away. And again, this is a very quick polish here with a die grinder. So stands to reason, if it duplicates it again, that going all the way with a polish and or painting. But in my case, I don't want to paint my engine block, the inside. All right, so let's go for that again. A good shot. A good shot. And if I didn't mention it, this is ADW90 gear oil. So again, there could be different variations that would make this maybe not a very accurate test, but I figured using a thick oil will kind of give you your worst case scenario kind of representation, when it kind of matters the most. I suppose on the flip side, in a racing application, your oil is going to be hot, so obviously it could go both ways. So yeah, the same thing again. This one, it's a little bit different because I think I squirted more this time on both sides, but this one has again caught up and passed. And it looks like they're creeping at the same rate towards the bottom. So I'm not sure where, obviously this one is faster. And it looks like this time around, there may be a little bit more neck and neck, or not neck and neck, but they're a little closer than they were the first time, but this one is still by far in the lead. And I'll just stop it right before it goes into the drain back hole. And you can kind of see as it curves around the lifter bosses, that's okay. So it's going in now. I'm going to stop it there. So yeah, right before it goes, right around as it goes around the lifter bosses, that kind of like, you can watch the stream kind of go like this. So it stands to reason that it would probably be helpful to polish those a little bit and kind of do a nice smooth radius around them and stuff. So this guy's still not, and yes, I know like on the 429, this one is a little farther back, but even still, it still would not be in the hole yet. So I started in parallel or in line here, and right about now, not yet actually. Right about now, this one is lining up with this one. So two tests there, and they both did the same thing. So I'm sold. I believe that it definitely is. Whether or not it's worth your time, but for me, it's worth the time to polish this, at least to some extent. I might not go completely crazy about it, but at least get it cleaned off. So hopefully that was interesting. And going to continue on, get this oil cleaned up and stuff so I can keep all the shavings from sticking. All right, so just gonna quickly go through the block. This is about a week later or so, a week and a half later from the last part of the video. And I'd estimate probably 8 or 10 hours into this. And this is by no means a, completely encapsulating, or whatever the word would be, cleanup job, because I'm sure there's a lot of guys who could find a lot more ways to clean it up even more. But anyways, I took off about 1/2 inch of these knobs. To my knowledge, there's no functional reason for them. I think they're just kind of there for the casting process, or as like mounts that they use to like rotate the block, because I don't think in the factory they throw it on a mount. So I would, if I could guess there's something like these are used to mount the block while they work on it and then they cut it off. But I really don't know. That's just kind of a wild guess. So this is going to take a lot of time, but I went through literally every square inch of the block, and any edge I put a chamfer on, even the round surfaces. Took this out. This is 1.25 inches to get it out. This one I still need to chamfer this. This is apparently worth a couple PSI of oil pressure just doing that on some blocks. This, as you recall, I think I mentioned that this was completely plugged off, and turned out that it was this whole area about like this inside, and you can actually, I could kind of feel it even just getting my finger in there, was all stuffed with casting sand that had never got knocked out from factory. So I spent some time going through that, used this really long screwdriver here, and able to get it in and work it around. And you can actually, with that in there, you can actually get in there and you can feel the screwdriver. So it's actually, you can actually get a long screwdriver like that. And even if you had a little bit more of a slender one, that might work well as well. But go through all the passages and you never know what you might find. This is just a little bit that just came out after really extensive cleaning on that. After already rotating a few times, blowing it out, I rotated it over again and even more fell out. So I'm going to have a lot of cleaning to do once I finish everything. And, be prepared to put in, spend some money on some sort of good cleaner to flush everything with, good couple hours blowing passages out over and over again. Like, it's not just a one and done. You got to make sure it's spotless if you want the best longevity and stuff. So, and even after going through this block over and over again, it's best, I found, to kind of take it in bite-sized pieces and then maybe take a break, come back another day or something, just because I found with myself, if I get carried away, I start to overlook stuff and I get kind of careless. Which I'm just going to rotate this block and I'll show you. So I just saw early in the video how much just polishing it helped. The only areas I haven't really gotten is higher up here where I couldn't really get, but I was able to run the die grinder like this and smooth down the edges with the die grinder, and then spent half an hour, 40 minutes with some really heavy sandpaper, running it in the channel like this, smoothing that out. Also beveling these edges here so they have a really nice slope towards the hole, and it's a nice continuous drop into it to help oil get in there as fast as possible. Took out some of the lifter boss area here. 1 or 2 of them I accidentally got a little carried away. I didn't get into the inner part, but that's something to watch for. So I don't think it would have really any effect on strength, but just something to watch for. And then, again, every single area, put a little chamfer on, including these edges here. I think I mentioned it, but I found out it's when you get a brand new die grinder bit, especially if it's a high quality, it's probably best to kind of dull it out. Some are not very important before you go into something really crucial like this. Because if you dive into this with a fresh bit, you're probably going to take out way more than you intend. Even better yet, do stuff like this by hand with some sandpaper, just to kind of break the edge. Again, not an expert, but that's kind of just what I think is the best way to do it. Probably the safest way for your average person. There's areas that I can hear. There's some significant casting flash in these areas. A little piece in here that I still need to work on. This is not going anywhere, so actually I might just leave that one alone because it's completely closed off. If I didn't mention it, I took some of the ears off and rounded that out. I tried to leave enough. Actually, I think it was just the bottom end that I did. But anyways, I tried to leave enough that if I ever need to put like an engine plate or chain down the block in the car or something, that I have areas. I don't even know if anything mounts here at all. So that might be one free. But like for instance here, in hindsight, I don't think I would have messed with this at all because I maybe took off, half a pound or something. But anyways, I tried to leave enough that if I did need to chain it, that I could drill like up to a 1/2 inch bolt or something for that. What else? Yeah, so that's about it. Again, every single passage. These are already should be beveled, or angled a little bit more here from the machine shop. So I'm going to get into the block prep and stuff of that. But truthfully, I'm just kind of wrapping this video up here because it's a good stopping point for this video, and I'm waiting on finances to be able to proceed farther with any kind of block prep, really. I'm just doing what I can with my die grinder and my couple bits that I have. Chamfered this, again, carefully chamfered all these holes. Broke the edge on the edges here. And obviously just got to be extremely careful with this because this is, crucial mating surfaces and machines. So just take your time, be very cautious. All these edges around here where the seals ride, I think I actually did this with sandpaper, which works fantastic. But it literally, you'll know when you first feel it. It's almost like you could cut your hand on it. You could actually if you went fast enough in a lot of cases. But, just a couple passes with some sandpaper, and now it's still sharp, it's still machined really closely, but you just broke the edge on it. And in here, go through all the nooks and crannies. There was in this hole here, which I don't think is used on this block at all, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong on that, but I don't think this is functional. But anyways, there's a big old chunk of casting flash in here, and the only way to really get to that was to put my bit in there and kind of oblong this hole a little bit, and then I was able to get into it. But there was a good chunk in there that, under certain circumstances could probably break loose. So again, it takes a lot of time, but this is my 4th or 5th time going over the block probably, and I've picked up on a few things that I missed, namely this. I forgot I haven't chamfered that yet. And go through all the coolant passages. You can get pretty good idea with your finger, but then you can flip it around and you can go through every single one of the passages on the deck and get those sorted out. So I think that's about it. Going to have a lot more coming, including pressing in new cam bearings, stuff like that. But I think I'll wrap this one up here. So thanks for watching. Hopefully that was helpful. And if you have any comments or criticisms or whatever, put that in the comments section. And I will see you in the next one.